When growing up, getting a new game was a big event, partially because you got something new, partially because it came in a box, and if you're young, mostly because you had no control over what your parents got you. It's like tossing a dart blindfolded. Maybe it's a bullseye, and maybe it lands in the trash. But at the end of the day, you took what you got and you made do with it. Today, we're going to try to recreate that feeling of dart throwing RNG by playing games from Nintendo Switch's Super Nintendo collection. We're going to be looking for some of the best hidden gems from the more obscure games. Now, I may not be blindfolded, but I'm sure going into some of these games blind. And by now, I should have released a video that shows off the best Super Nintendo games, as I'm playing through every single game first to figure out where each game ranks. I'll have a link to that video in the description. Also, if you don't agree with my reviews, maybe I am playing blindfolded. Maybe you're blindfolded. Who knows? So actually, you should just really take your blindfold off so you can watch this video, silly. Now, playing through each one of these titles, I'm going to be ranking them as surprising or terrifying, because I couldn't come up with anything more creative. Now, playing through Nintendo's lineup, I can't talk about all the surprising games without throwing that dart into some trash too. Let's begin. First up's a real head scratcher, Stunt Race FX. Did the game just honk a clown car at us? I feel like this is a warning. Now, right off the bat, first impression of this game? Feast your eyes on this delicacy. This cartoon-styled racing game utilizes the Super FX chip like Star Fox did to help push 3D graphics on the Super Nintendo. Now, sometimes being a first mover in technology is not always the best thing. And for one of the first games utilizing the Super FX chip, it's okay. Now, don't get me wrong, this looks pretty good for the Super Nintendo. But it also looks like a scuffed Pixar Cars game meant for the PC. I think it's the interface that really ties it all together. That gray border around your gameplay with the gray display really gives it that 90s PC vibe now. Now, critics at the time actually had more to say than just commenting on the graphics when it was first released. They commented that Stunt Race FX isn't fast enough. GamePro said it ain't realistic. To which I answer, duh. This isn't supposed to be the next F-Zero or the next Gran Turismo. I mean, are you serious? The cars have googly eyes slapped onto their hood! What are you expecting? Were they like, man, I saw those cartoon eyes for the first time on that car, and the only thing I saw, man, was speed. I saw the speed. And wow, I'm so disappointed by this game now. To be honest, if you're slapping googly eyes on anything and you try to take it seriously afterwards, I think something's wrong. And to be fair, with the amount of 3D polygons being used and the fact that they scaled down the gameplay with a border actually makes it a kind of a smart design choice given the hardware limitations, even though it still feels like it runs a little bit slow. And shifting the focus from hyper racing realism to sillier cars allows it to pass in this manner. But speaking of googly eyes, the field of view is just so restrictive. Most driving games don't feature a car directly plastered in the dead center of the screen. No, they are plastered in the center, but shifted down a bit so that way you can actually see the road ahead. There's just not a lot of time to react given this view. It feels like I'm a squished toy hidden at the bottom of a cereal box and I'm looking upwards through the top of the box waiting to be uncovered by my eventual owner. Oh look, it's Mario, Fox, and Kirby. Now luckily they have a mini-map so you can at least plan your turns ahead of time until you learn the course. But at the same time, that's not how a racing game should really be. The focus should be on the action in front of you. So let's focus on the sick cartoon vehicles I can choose from that were rejects from the Toy Story movie. That's right, you can live out your childhood fantasy of playing as a semi-trailer truck now. Controls vary based on the car, but wow, you better learn how to drift or be ready to use braking liberally, because getting around corners ain't easy. You race on 4 tracks in a circuit and repeat for harder difficulties. Now when you race, you have to worry about 3 things: boost, damage, and a timer. You have a limited amount of boost increasing your speed based on how much meter you have left, indicated by the blue bar labeled boost. Now remember earlier when I said it's hard to play in turns ahead of time? It's even more hard when you're cracking these insane speeds with boost. Wait, what were the critics talking about? I'm going so fast. F-Zero, step aside. Now if you take enough damage or the timer runs out, you lose a life and you have to restart the race. However, you can refill your boost and lower your damage meters by getting blue and pink Doritos littered on the course. Blue for boost, pink for damage, blue for boy, pink for it doesn't matter because I like the color pink. Now, damage occurs if you say tickle the edge of the course, you tickle another car, you tickle an obstacle, or you tickle Elmo. And generally, damage isn't an issue as long as you pick up that pink Dorito. And I'm pretty sure the blue one is probably Cool Ranch flavor just because of its blue packaging. The pink one is probably sweet, strawberry, splash, or some other appetizing flavor. Speaking of splash... What? You serious? Apparently you lose a life for falling into some water. I get it that it's more realistic to reset if you completely go off the course, but I also thought that any sort of realism ended when the googly eyes were slapped onto the cars. I mean, come on. Now, let's talk about the timer. I can't think of one person who goes, wow, a timer in a racing game. That's fun. As a gamer, it just doesn't feel good losing to a timer in a racing game because it defeats the purpose of the game itself, which is going as fast as possible. If you're going to lose by not going fast enough, it should just reflect in your racing placement. Seriously, it only adds an artificial difficulty curve for newer players. Now, I get it in arcade racing games because you want to suck the money out of players' hands. But not in a home console game. They already suck the money out of your hands. It's like if you got a shot from the doctor and then they kicked you in the shins. Like, wow, that was unnecessary. And ow! These timers are just an outdated concept. But maybe when this game was made, it was more so a newer concept, so Nope, it's still wrong. Well, at this point, I probably should make a decision. In my continual effort to be normal, I really want to hate this game. Like, I really want to dislike this game. But I can't lie. This game sucked. Psych! Yeah, I can lie. Come on. I can't believe I'm actually admitting this, but I like this game and I'm having fun. I feel like I'm not supposed to like the way the graphics are, the screen size, the driving, and to an extent, everything else. But it's just a solid racing game that offers fun, bite-sized races, and I never felt the difficulty was overwhelming at any point. I feel like this is almost equivalent to liking pineapple on pizza. Which I do. Come at me. I look forward to earning that dislike now. Anyways, it was fun trying to get the controls down, keeping yourself on course, and going for the gold. It was just an overall solid experience. Yeah, this game won't be played too much in the future, but I actually booted this game up more than once, so yeah, that's a pretty good sign. Also, everything is spelled with an X, and nothing screams wild, crazy, and 90s like an X. This game gets a full surprising from me. Now, I'm gonna offer two reviews at the same time here. Super Tennis and Super Soccer. They both vie for the sports game in Nintendo's list. Spoiler alert, one is good, one is not so good. Quick. Now based on these two photos of the box art, choose which one is trash and cash. I know they are very similar and very bland, but come on, you gotta trust me on this, you gotta figure one out. That's right, Super Tennis is trash. Just kidding. I told you I can lie. It's straight cash, baby. It gets the surprising vote from me. Now, Super Soccer is terrifying, but not in the sense that it's absolutely scary like a haunted house. If you look up the definition of just okay, you'll find Super Soccer there. There's only two options in this game, exhibition and tournament. One mode is where you play soccer, the other one is where you play soccer for way too long. Now I have to praise this game for its controls and character swapping to keep you in the action. It's actually really intuitive. Even though this is a solid soccer game, with a good baseline, it just doesn't have that special something that makes you want to play it over long periods of time in the future. Even though I praise the controls, there's still a limited number of control options. For defense, you have two options, slide tackle or shoulder tackle, and you immediately take the ball if you shoulder tackle, and you feel good afterwards, so yeah, that's a pretty good option. On offense, you get a shoot, pass, yep. Now there's still the same tension you'll get in normal sports games, right? The back and forth between the two teams. But there's also tension in the SpongeBob movie. And when comparing Super Soccer to SpongeBob the movie, SpongeBob might win out here. As far as the graphics go, I actually like them for this game and don't mind the perspective at all. But after halftime, you're gonna switch sides of the ball, and the perspective does not change, so that means you're going the other way, and you cannot see where you're shooting or where you're passing to, and that's a little frustrating. It just plays like a less interesting NBA 2K game. Now, if they added a twist, just one extra spin to the game, they legitimately could have had something here. Oh, no need to cry. I'll play a different game soon here. like Super Tennis. Oh yeah, this game is actually good. Now this game by far was the biggest surprise for me. Seriously. It was actually like finding something shiny on the beach and realizing it wasn't throwing away plastic, but actual jewelry. And well, the graphics are still bad. It's about as visually pleasing as the box art makes it look. It's sort of like looking at a plate of rice. Actually, that rice picture looks really interesting. At least they were nice enough to put in a Nintendo logo in the corner. That's a really nice touch. Oh, and the controls. Okay, at first, I was sure my character was on some performance enhancements. Yeah, because it kept smashing the ball into oblivion. For example, sometimes when serving, when pressing literally no other buttons, hitting the ball at its apex with a strong serve will result in a fault. Doing what would be a perfect serve in real life doesn't work here. And then apparently doing some weird serve where you quickly mash the serve button works, so... Video game, logic, video game, logic. Naturally, me being the amazing physicist that I am, was super confused by the controls and physics at this point. So I did what any other gamer would do. I turned the console off, took the game cartridge out, sold it back to GameStop. At least in my dreams I did that, but then I realized we have something called the internet. So I actually managed to find out how to play this game, and I'm going to say this right now. Nintendo, please include game manuals for each game so we know how to play them in the future. Now Nintendo has released game manuals, but only for the SNES Classic version, not for Nintendo Switch Online games. I mean, how cool would it be to actually look through the old manuals to learn a little bit more about the game and learn how to play the game at the same time, let's be real. And oh boy, I sure learned how to play this game. So I'm OP now. You actually have a lot of control over the ball. You have your top spin, slices, lobs, smashes, mashing the D-pad in a certain direction influences the ball movement. You even can implement side spins, and even your timing on the hit affects its trajectory. Now compare this to Mario Tennis. Well, Mario Tennis actually does all of this. This game plays like a modern Mario Tennis to an extent, and this game was released before Mario Tennis ever first appeared. They actually nailed down the core gameplay. Having more control leads to more gameplay scenarios that creates a more interesting gameplay experience than what Super Soccer could offer. This glorified Pong game is simply fun. But anyways, final conclusion, this game is terrible. And when I say terrible, I mean terribly amazing. This game was such a good surprise. And then we have Brawl Brothers. You have to have a side-scroller beat 'em up in your game collection, otherwise it just wouldn't scream 90s. Now there are 5 interesting characters to choose from and offer a few differences, such as their character model, attack animations, and one special attack. But that's where the interesting part of the game ends. Let me explain. In Japan, the game is known as Rushing Beat Chaos the City of Clones, which is pretty accurate considering how the enemies are all the same. You fight only a handful of generic enemies, you fight the recolors of the generic enemies, and the reskins of those generic enemies. Over and over and over. It's like chewing gum. Really neat for the first minute or two, and then all the flavor runs out. Yes, I'm talking about you, Juicy Fruit. I love your gum, but please, why does it gotta run out so fast? Now adding in some variants helps the game stay interesting. Check this guy out. It's Dr. Robotnik. That's interesting, except here he is again, and again, and again. At least, one of his attacks is to give you a wedgie, so, you know, brownie points for that. Also, does anybody know what a SPAC is? I tried recreating that sound in real life and had no luck. SPAC? The real issue is the core of the game. The beating up part just isn't as interesting as you'd want it to be. You have one attack button. Yeah, let me repeat that. You have one attack button. And I made sure because I used my newfound internet skills to find the game manual. You also have one jump button and one special attack button, but the special attack button doesn't combo with anything, and if you use it, it drains your life. Oh, and the greatest part of this game is the fact that you have one button dedicated entirely to posing. That's right, posing. Instead of adding a strong and light attack like most games would, they wanted to be either creative or lazy, your choice with that. Although I will say posing is pretty fun for a short time, just like that Juicy Fruit. The fact is, with this control scheme, you end up spamming just one button, mixed in with the occasional jump button, and this makes it feel more repetitive than it should. Yeah, if we're talking about context of the 90s, this game isn't that bad and it's passable for its time period, but honestly, we're comparing this to the other games in this lineup, and we're looking for the best surprises. This is terrifying. Alright, Super Earth Defense Force. Wait, where did I see that company before? Oh no. Unfortunately, I'm not going to spend much time on this one. Well, actually, it may not be so unfortunate for you. This game is a shoot 'em up like a classic arcade game. And again, it's not a bad game at all. It's just super important that I reiterate this because I don't want you to disqualify actually giving these games a go. So you can also suffer the same way I did. And speaking of suffering, this game suffers the same way Brawl Brothers did. Nothing extremely memorable that makes it stand out or makes it really unique. Now, you get to choose a unique weapon at the beginning of each stage and they act all pretty differently. Look, I'm shooting blue SpaghettiOs. And they hone in on the target. Yeah, that's pretty good. But honestly, I can't see myself wanting to play this compared to any of the other titles offered in this lineup. Terrifying. And for the final game is... Yeah, I don't know how to read this. Well, I think I hit the first boss. Alright, let's hit a few random things and voila, bing bang boom. Looks like we're in there. Ah, okay, I gotcha. It's Puyo Puyo. Puyo Puyo 2. If you're familiar with Puyo Puyo, you might be asking yourself, why is this game being included in this video? Well, it turns out I'm a weirdo. I'd never played Puyo Puyo in my life before. And I know it may come as a shocker because I don't give off any weird vibes based on my other videos, right? I'm getting ready to shop. No, you deaf cannot stop. Oh, and by the way, there is no English menu in this game. Nope. Nintendo is letting us relive the glory of being a child playing a video game by making sure we do not know how to read and we have to fumble through the menus until something starts. Thanks, Nintendo. Now, for the other weirdos who haven't played this game, well, the goal of the game is simple. It's a bunch of falling blobs. Connect 4 of the same color, keep your board clear, throw trash onto the opponent's side of the board, and don't let your board get filled up. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, and at first I really didn't understand the trash mechanic too well. What is this? Actually, I've always wondered this, like, where do all the cleared lines from Tetris and all the other cleared lines from like Tetris Attack go? Well, this game finally lets you know exactly where it goes. Into the ocean, baby. I mean the opponent's board. And I shouldn't have to tell you this, but pollution is bad. Now, speaking of Tetris and Tetris Attack, the game is pretty much in the same realm. Yup. The realm of addiction. Oh, and there's an actual story mode to this game, because this game would not be complete without a story mode. In short, you play as Chibi Chun-Li going through a boss rush of opponents, including a Magikarp. How is this Magikarp kicking my butt? Now, the good thing about this game is that it's simple. And when I say simple, I mean simply complex. When you first start, you'll eventually learn what patterns help clear up the most garbage, how to deal with situations when things don't match, and then a whole pile of garbage is going to drop on your head. The fact that you are under the pressure of competition makes this the most relaxing and frustrating game I've played recently. The other one being Super Earth Defense Force. You know it's not a surprise? Me saying this game is surprising. Nintendo included some real hidden treasures here, and I'm glad they did. Getting introduced to games you otherwise would have never experienced is all good fun. Now, there were some other release games that were notable, but I have more experience with them and I think they're generally more well known. But quick. Demon's Quest is an amazing game that has a great falling mechanic that allows for uncommon platformer finding experience. Breath of Fire is a solid RPG. Geometry 2 is a kind of a middle-of-the-road platformer, but solid enough because you can ride a worm. Yeah, I think that covers it. If you have a Nintendo Switch, and you have Nintendo Switch Online, give these games a go. Oh, and one last thing. GamePro, here's what I have to say about your Stunt Race FX review, baby. This is the actual review from GamePro, October 1994, of Stunt Race FX, and this is what I think about it. Spec.